Welcome to RPI's CloudSuite Tech Talk series. My name is Keith Whalen, and I'm here to introduce today's presentation on v11 SCM differences. Infor CloudSuite Supply Management is a powerful product we're very proud to implement for our customers. Presenting today, we have RPI's SCM Practice Manager, Mr. Daniel Farruggio, and he will be joined by two of our SCM consultants, Ms. Lisa Rogers and Ms. Natasha Williams. Please note, if you enjoy this session, that we host these every Friday at noon EST, and you can see what's coming up on the schedule on the Work Out Loud events page. Also, we welcome questions. If you have any, please type them into the Q&A chat box at the bottom of your screen. Note, however, that we will save them to the end of the session so as to not interrupt our presenters while they're speaking. And with that, I'll hand the virtual baton off to Dan, Lisa, and Natasha.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you all for joining us for today's presentation on version 11 supply management differences. We are excited to share some of our favorite features and what we think are great enhancements to the overall user experience within the supply management world. So what's in store today? Today we're going to present a high-level overview of new and noteworthy functionality and then dive into specific updates and enhancements in the areas of inventory control, requisitioning, purchasing, and contract management. Throughout the presentation, you may hear different terminology that is all referring to the newest version of Infor Lawson's CloudSuite Finance and Supply Management application. If you hear version 11 CSF or FSM, please know that we're referring to the CloudSuite Finance and Supply Management system. Jumping into some new and noteworthy functionality, you're going to notice one of the biggest differences in the application is the way users will navigate the system. The application menu is located in the top right or the top left of your screen and is the square made of squares. The application menu allows users to switch between applications within a single web browser window. The application icons a user sees will be dependent on their security access. Some common applications you might see are Infor CloudSuite homepages, mobile supply chain management, and global HR. You wear lots of hats within your organization and need to access a lot of applications. The menu can be organized or rearranged like you would a smartphone by dragging and dropping icons in the order you want them to appear. Again, if you perform multiple functions within your organization, there's a good chance you will have multiple roles assigned to your user ID. The role switcher allows you to switch roles across different forms and functions throughout the application to perform a specific job. Once a role has been selected, a search box will appear and it can be used to find a specific screen or business class to help you navigate there, the click of a button. Another big change is that form numbers are no longer part of the way you will navigate the system, and they've been replaced by a menu-driven workflow to move from screen to screen. Each role contains the screens needed to perform a specific job function. Collapsible menus group similar tasks together for easier navigation. Bookmarks are easier than ever to use and navigate. Any screen you are on can be bookmarked by clicking the bookmark icon and selecting Bookmark this page. Bookmark folders can also be created to group tasks or functions together by clicking the Manage Bookmarks option. Each role has a home page that gives a high-level overview into critical areas. These home pages can be personalized or configured to meet specific needs. The examples I'm about to show relate to inventory managers and buyers. The Inventory Manager homepage shows unreleased inventory transactions and items with zero stock on hand. The Reorder Status tab shows items within 10% of their reorder point. And the Alerts tab will show you unreleased inventory transactions, items with zero stock on hand, open PO lines past expected delivery date, and inventory items past their requested delivery date. The Buyer homepage will show you unreleased POs that are related specific to your buyer, open to receive past delivery date purchase orders, and your procurement templates. The Buyer Message tab allows you to work buyer's message right from the same screen. Purchase Orders to Create tab shows you requisition lines that have been assigned to your buyer code and are ready to be turned into purchase orders. Again, these home pages are customizable and configurable to meet your specific needs. List views are prevalent throughout CloudSuite and are extremely useful, especially if they are personalized to give you the data you need to perform your job right at your fingertips. All list views are exportable to PDF and/or Excel or CSV files. If you have the proper security access to perform personalization, you can easily personalize your list view. For example, maybe on this screenshot here, you'll see we don't utilize secondary quantities, or we aren't doing in-transit transfers. So we want to remove them and add a total stock on hand value for an item. To do so, all you have to do is click on the Options button and then Personalize. A window will pop up to add, remove, reorganize, or add compute fields to your list view. Once the personalization is done, the screen will refresh so you can see what your personalized list view looks like. I have now personalized a list view that is specific to just me. And personalizations are only seen for the person that makes the personalization. Wizards exist throughout the supply management application and have a higher Wizards exist through the supply management application and are seen primarily in contract management, purchasing, and the requisitions areas. Wizards are helpful tools to streamline business processes by showing required fields and allows you to review transactions or release them from the last step. Attachments can now easily be added to requisitions, items, purchase orders, and contracts, amongst other things. Comments or transactions also support the usage of attachments. Item images could also be added to items, vendors, and locations. They could be added to a record from your desktop without the need to provision a new server. It's very simple to add images to records. Although user fields could still be available to use, they are no longer delivered out of the box. Where user fields are available to be configured, you will see a User Fields tab. One of the great things about CloudSuite is that it is highly configurable, and rather than having user fields numbered 1 through 5, you can create a field for a specific purpose and put it almost anywhere on any form. Security roles are now delivered with CloudSuite. Delivered security roles will be shown with an underscore with a suffix of _ST to indicate they are standard template roles. These delivered roles can be copied and configured to meet your organization's specific security policies. The roles shown here are just a subset of some of the more common supply management roles you'll see. You no longer need to build security from scratch like you did in the S3 days. Infor Spreadsheet Designer is the successor to add-ins. It is a more robust dynamic query and upload tool used to create and maintain CloudSuite data using Microsoft Excel. Similar to add-ins, Spreadsheet Designer leverages the user security to determine which business classes a user can query from or upload to. Excel workbooks with embedded queries or uploads can be saved to be used on a regular basis and can be refreshed simply by clicking the refresh button. One of my personal favorite features of Spreadsheet Designer is the dynamic field mapping. If your headers match the name of a field in a business class, Spreadsheet Designer will automatically map the business class field for you. Infor Document Management allows you to create templates for standard documents such as purchase orders, non-MSCM delivery and put-away documents, contracts, and more. It is possible to add your company's logo, rearrange the order of fields, and add additional fields, or remove fields that may be irrelevant. Documents are stored in a document repository and accessible via the transaction where they were created from. I will now turn it over to Lisa to go over inventory control.
Lisa, you might be on mute.
Yes, I'm talking to myself, sorry. The example on this slide is of the inventory transaction screen. Notice there are no more tokens or form searches. For example, IC21 issues and IC24 adjustments. Don't worry, we now have the ability to start all transactions from one dashboard. Infor has streamlined the various actions that can be taken and now are along the top of the screen just under the solid blue line, such as inventory transactions, unreleased receipts, issues, adjustments, etc. The item dashboard is an example of where we have a wealth of information associated with an item in an easy format and at our fingertips. For this item example, Lawson 120167, plate-wide version, we can see a summary of the item, the vendor items, the different contract lines the item is on. We can view purchase order lines and even see PO lines that are past their expected delivery dates. We can also see locations with stock on hand quantities, the demand, the stock on order, and even the transacting unit of measure for that location. It's also important to note that the dashboard items can be moved around on the screen if it makes sense for you. Item master descriptions. Throughout V11, all description fields have been increased from 30 to 60 characters. The third description is not new, but is now called the long description and still allows for 350 characters. For one client, I changed the long description to read Epic Description in the configuration console, as that was the description to be brought over to Epic, so you can modify some of these descriptions to fit your business needs. Copying an item. There's a new action that allows you to copy the existing item to a new item. Units of measure will automatically be copied. However, if you wish to include comments, attachments, item locations, or reorder information, you would have to check it and it will copy it on over. Item requests. New request actions have been added to add new items, update items, and add item locations. These request actions allow the routing of a request for approval prior to having it be created in the item master. And the item record is automatically created once a requester approves it. Requesting a new item can be beneficial if the requester finds that they order an item routinely and then the same item, same part number multiple times, and recognizes it might be easier to have an item master number. Additionally, requesting a new item can only be done by a requester, buyer, purchasing manager, or purchasing receiver. New item location. A buyer can request a new item location, and the prerequisite is that the item must be built in the item master. For the item and the item location flows to work, the service processor must be enabled, and the user must also have the enabled task assigned to them. It is important to note that these are optional features provided by CloudSuite. Not every organization may find a need for them, but it can be beneficial for users who normally are in the system on a regular basis. Units of measures. Item unit of measures are now unlimited. Previously, we were limited to 9. When a select on a unit of measure is done in the item master for the inventory transaction lines, the unit of measure displayed will only be the valid ones for that item for that specific document. Same rule will apply to purchase order lines, requisition lines, procurement template lines, sourcing events, and contract lines. Document numbering. All rules for manual assignment have been removed, as it does not make sense to manually assign numbers in a modern day ERP system. Values are now numeric, and they are auto-assigned only for the following: inventory transaction, purchase orders, vendors, and payable invoices. In my example, when you click Save, the transaction number populates. It's important to note that all business classes with these changes have an added reference 1 and reference 2 field to store the values previously used from upgrades, and can also be used for additional information, and they are searchable. Inventory control. Infor has streamlined the month-end close process. All the required actions to take are listed and in the recommended order. What we are seeing in the CloudSuite financial world is the new MM280, the Departmental Procurement Expense Report, the IC130 General Ledger Interface, IC190 Closing, and the IC199 Inventory Control Subsystem Process. Now I will turn this over to Sasha to discuss requisitioning.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Let's talk about the differences in requisitioning in CloudSuite FSM. Starting with the requester role, the requester homepage provides a dashboard view for requisitions, including requisition lines. This can help with making business operations flow a little easier by seeing everything in one place. Therefore, as a requester, I no longer must have different screens open in order to complete the task at hand. From the home page, you can see requisition lines that are past the requested delivery date. You can see requisitions that are needing approval, and you can also see unreleased requisitions. For the unreleased requisitions, you can open them up and continue to work on them. You can release them, or you can even delete the rec altogether if it's not needed. There's additional functionality also where you can create a copy of requisitions. Under the application switcher or bookmarks, you can view requisitions specific to your own requester, or you can view all requisitions that have been entered, which is a nice addition that helps with not entering duplicate orders. A big change under the requester setup is requesters are no longer set up separately in the system. The requester record is now tied to an existing employee record in GHR. The requester experience can also be tailored in the requester setup screen to the individual user with different fields that can be configured to enable or disable functionality for that user. For those old school Lawson folks, RSS or requisition self-service is now back. It replaces RQC or requisition center. RSS can be accessed under the requester role. And although it has the old name, it now has a new look, complete with new processing functionality. The RSS homepage now shows recent requisitions where you can view, add, or copy old lines to a new requisition. You can also view recently requested items, including specials and services that can also be added to a new requisition. The homepage also allows easy access to shopping lists and punch-out vendors. According to how the business runs, requesters also have access to manage their purchase order receipts by clicking on the receiving button, to which a form of that name opens, providing a view into the POs that are now fully received, receipts for a PO, and unreleased POs for you to view or work based on the role that's assigned to you. In CloudSuite, the RQC config file is no longer used. All necessary setup is now done under the inventory company on the RSS tab. In RSS configuration, you can now also create a punch-out vendor with the credentials provided to you by the vendor, making it easier to set up these vendors in the system. In configuration, you can also easily set what is shown to the end user by hiding or requiring fields you would not want users to see. This can be set at the company level and overridden at the requester level, as I previously showed you. Requesters can now request new items, as Lisa mentioned before, or new vendors by default. At the top of the form, it allows you now to request, at the top of the form, it lets you know the request must go through the proper approvals before it is created. So although requesters have access to request a new item or vendor, it does not mean that item or vendor is automatically created in the system. The request will be routed via an IPA workflow through the proper channels in order to be set up. Another wonderful addition is that requesters can now create their own procurement templates. From the procurement template form, they can create a requisition, they can copy a requisition, or they can view all of the requisitions created from a specific template, which may be great for reporting purposes if ever needed. Now, Dan will let us know a little bit about purchasing.
Thank you, Natasha. Okay, purchasing processes have been consolidated into fewer screens with multiple tabs, allowing buyers to perform more functions with fewer clicks. The majority of buyer functions can be performed from the Manage Purchase Order screen. From here, buyers can view all purchase orders by status, search for PO lines, search for receipts, or view peripheral information as it pertains to encumbrances, contract costs, and diversity spend. The requisition to invoice payment, or the rec to check widget, gets a little facelift in CloudSuite. Similar to previous versions, contextual applications can be expanded and collapsed by clicking the chevron in the top right corner of the screen. While on a list view with purchasing type transactions, all you really need to do is highlight a record, and the contextual app will populate with the details of that specific transaction, beginning with the requisition and ending with the payment details. And each section could be expanded and collapsed to see that specific detail. The Manage Purchase Request screen is the new equivalent to PR23. The screenshot you see here shows requisition lines that are available to be converted into purchase orders, or that are missing information and didn't get scooped up in the new PO100 purchase order interface job. Lines with red badge icons indicate required information is missing on the line, such as a vendor, buyer, or a cost. If the requested delivery date has passed and that requisition line is still sitting out there, you'll see a red badge icon next to the date. If you hover your mouse over those icons, it will provide you more details on what may be wrong with that specific line. From the screen, multiple lines could be selected and either added to an existing purchase order or added to a newly created PO right from this screen. And once that purchase order is created, it goes to the purchase order tab where it can be reviewed or released, again, right from the same screen. Similar to purchasing processes, receiving processes have also been consolidated to make life easier for the receiving staff. All receiving functions are nested in the Manage Receiving menu, making it simple to create receipts, receipt adjustments, view receipt lines needing inspection or completed inspections, and to work your vendor returns. They're all consolidated in the same area. The Manage Purchase Order Receipt screen is your one-stop shop to view all the information you need as it relates to receipts. You can review the status of receipts, dropship POs, and your archived and closed receipts, and which also helps streamline your month-end processing for purchasing. Speaking of month-end close, all the jobs you need or may need to close out the purchasing system are nestled together in the month-end processing menu. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Natasha to talk about some exciting updates with EDI.
Okay, EDI has been upgraded also, making it easier to set up and transact with vendors. In EDI, you now have a new test connection button that can be found under the EDI carrier tab. This button allows you to test the configuration with a new carrier immediately after you set it up. So you no longer have to send a test order or wait for a real order to be sent out before realizing there's a problem with setup. You also have both FTP and SFTP EDI methods available for use. Previously, in Lawson v10, SFTP was not enabled, posing a possible security concern. SFTP being enabled is a huge addition for security. Also under the Carrier tab, you will now find other functionality like a new delimiters tab where you can see the delimiters to be used in your transaction file. There is now also a history tab that lists all processing history for the trading partner. You can open any of these transactions to get more information like what was the communication status, did the transaction fail, did it go into waiting, or did it transmit successfully? As a former EDI administrator, the best new functionality to me is the proper spacing in the data substitution table is no longer needed, and now is replaced with a plus sign when adding the ship to records. Any EDI admin knows in previous versions, missing one space will cause everything to fail. That record now has your ship to location, a plus sign, your vendor number, a plus sign, your purchase from, plus sign, then the company. Or if you do not use purchase froms, it will be ship to location plus vendor number plus another plus sign and then company. You want to make sure the purchase from field is blank as seen in the screenshot above. Also, in data substitutions, under the actions dropdown, you now have the ability to create new records from existing records, like create inbound company or create inbound vendor, etc. Next, we will talk about contract management differences in CloudSuite FSM. Contract management is delivered with CloudSuite Financials. There's no longer a PO25. All contracts and vendor agreements now use the same tables. The contract dashboard provides everything you need to manage a contract in one screen. Contract managers can now view contracts in all status, review alerts, revision history, and keep up with contract costs all from one screen. In contract management, you can set up articles, questions, etc. to assist with contract setup, document redlining, and contract approvals. Also, a huge difference from Lawson v10 is now special items can exist on contracts. So if you have items that you do not want to add to your item master for whatever reason, you can still negotiate a contract price for them without an item number having to be created to put it on a contract. Service contracts also no longer need POs. The invoices for the services are now matched directly to the contract. In contract management, there are lots of robust capabilities available. Like from the home page, you can view active contracts that are expiring and contracts that have expired. You have the ability to create a new copy of those contracts or send an email notification out for the contracts. You can also view contracts with errors that need to be worked. There is a tab to view contract milestones that have not yet been completed and contract deliverables that have not yet closed. You can also send out notifications for those as well. You can compare contract costs to another contract as well as create procurement templates from contracts in CloudSuite Financials. In contract management, the contract group can be configured to be more aligned with the business needs. Like other modules in CloudSuite FSM, fields can be required or hidden to only display those that are needed and used by the business. The same customizations will apply to what is visible from the contract wizard, which is new functionality that is available to assist with setting up a contract, making the setup process quicker and easier. Something to also note is for standing and blanket contracts, the contract number will be stored in the header of each PO created under the contract. The release order will stay with the contract and increase with every new order that is created. If you look at the current release field of the screenshots, you can see the first PO has a release of 3, and the next PO that went out under the contract has a release of 4. This information being readily available helps contract managers with keeping track of orders that have went out for a specific contract. So at a high level, those are some of the major changes that you can expect to see for CloudSuite FSM. And with that, we would like to open up the floor for questions.
Okay, we have some questions rolling in that we're going to begin answering. So the first question that has come in is, can you briefly explain how the attachment process works in v11? Is the process similar to v10, where you right-click in a requisition or PO number field and attach comments, URLs, links, etc.?
Natasha, are you there? You're kind of our requisition expert.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So for attaching, making any attachments on like the POs or the requisitions, if you go to the line, you can attach, make any attachments at the line level on the requisitions and the POs.
Yeah, so it is similar where it's, yeah, you add a comment and you could attach it to the lines, and you could add multiple attachments as well. Next question that came in is, can a description from your GPO be imported? I'm assuming that's referring to an item description.
So yes, there are data links. In CloudSuite, there's a GPO interface, and it brings that information in, especially if you're doing item master cleanup with your GPO. You bring in the item master description, but then you're going to want to do the item master sync so that you sync up all of those descriptions throughout the supply chain module.
Another question that has come in, does DR100 still exist?
Yes, the DR100 is the distribution requirements report, and it does exist in the month end under inventory control under the post and close.
Another question, how have you found the transition in navigation from v10 to CloudSuite? So that's a great question. We found that the more engaged the users are, the transition's been a lot easier. The real key there is repetition. So if you have training sessions or you're getting into this system, just really consistently getting in and familiarizing yourself with the system. We found that users that aren't in on a regular basis, we kind of have to circle back and go through some navigation training again. So again, the key there is just repetition and getting into the system. Another question is there a crosswalk for the S3 screens to the new CloudSuite screens and reports?
So yeah, the last I saw, Infor does deliver a crosswalk between the S3 screens and CloudSuite FSM. However, RPI also has developed a crosswalk for those screens, and we provide navigation paths to the CloudSuite Financials equivalent. So we would be happy to help you with all of that.
Another question. When you have contract amendments, does it track all the amendments and the total modified for each amendment and save the documentation for easy access to detail? So yes, when you do amend the contract, it does save version history. So you are able to go back and track all the different versions or amendments that have been added to a single contract.
Looks like we have part of a question. Does DR100 show and there's nothing else there? So the person that submitted that, if you want to reach out to me via email, lrogers@rpi rpic.com, and I will get back to you on that one once you tell me what you're looking for.
And if you had asked a question that we didn't get to today, we will follow up with you and send you an answer shortly after this presentation has concluded. So you could keep an eye out for that communication.
And also, if you have any questions on the screen, you can see that questions@rpic.com. You can submit more questions there, and we can help you with those.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. And again, if you did ask a question, we will follow up and make sure you have an answer to your question. Thank you again.